Once again, it is time for a monthly PopCross Community Redraw episode. At the end of August, I asked the incredibly skilled artists of the PopCross community to send in their designs for sidekicks or henchmen. Whether that be a sidekick or henchman for an existing superhero, or their own totally original character in an original world. And there were hundreds of submissions sent in. There was so much cool selection. I wish that I could redraw everybody's stuff. I couldn't even fit everybody's in the opening crawl. But what I can do is redraw 9 of them. And because we're getting so many more submissions than we used to for the monthly community redraw episodes, I'm adding a new category at the end of this episode that's sort of like an honorable mentions type category, where I go over some pieces that I really liked but just didn't quite have enough time to redraw. But I have a feeling this is going to be a really long episode, so let's get into that first drawing. Alright, so our first submission of the day was sent in by Mega Turtle on the Discord. Or me, Six a Turtle, but I assume it's, Mega Turtle makes more sense, and that's probably what it is. Anyway, here's the description of Bag Boy. My sidekick is Bag Boy, or whatever you want to name him. Sean Howard is an average teen that has always wanted to be a superhero. Looking up to his idol, he wanted to be his unofficial sidekick. Making a costume out of cardboard, dried marker, and whatever he could find in the garage, he transformed himself into the most okay-ish sidekick a hero could have. And I love that, just the goofy angle of this one. It's so fun. I love your 2 drawings of him, one being a little bit more rendered with some cel-shaded coloring, and I love the kind of hand-drawn-in pecs with a scratchy marker. That idea is just so fun. I always think that's funny on characters like older Iron Man designs, where he'll have big abs carved into the Iron Man suit that clearly aren't his abs, they're just built into the costume. So having that idea of the character drawing pecs on a piece of cardboard, I just thought that was a lot of fun. And just the goofiness really got to me. And I love that you had your thumbnail sketches in there as well, because it's really cool. You can kind of get into an artist's head a little bit more when you can see their really rough work, because you can see what they just whip out when they're starting a drawing. And just, I love that you did a bunch of different pose ideas before you started actually drawing the actual images of the character, because I think that's really great. And I actually decided, you've probably noticed already, I took one of the poses that you drew in your thumbnail sketches and just used that to inspire the pose that I drew. I tried a couple versions of it, but ended up going with this one that's slightly different from what you had, but I think it's really fun. I think it's a good dynamic pose, and my favorite part of drawing this one was the face. The way that I'd had the lighting, I was a little bit concerned because I knew the sort of flat surface of his face was going to be a little bit in shadow, so I lightened that up a little bit more than it realistically would have been, and then I added a little bit of lighting in the eye at the very end just to make it pop a little bit more. But I think this was so fun. It was a great one to start with. Thank you very much for the submission, Mega Turtle, and let's take a look at the final version. Next up, we have got an awesome submission from Penny C137, also on the Discord, and her submission is Fly Girl, Spider-Man's sidekick, because it sounded funny. That's the whole description, and I think it works. I got the idea just from looking at it. I like, again, that you have a few different drawings of the character in there, and Spider-Man even giving her a little pat on the head. And I love these little, one of the things that got me the most besides the expression being great is the really tiny Dr. Octopus type arms that are like, I guess, the extra fly legs. Those are a lot of fun. So for my drawing, I decided to have the character given sort of a peace sign with those little arms and having her regular arms just out back. But I also really like drawing the wings for this one. Something that I've been doing since drawing Green Arrow's Batman submission from a couple episodes ago is drawing wings not with black ink, but with a lighter ink that's the color that the wings are going to be, and then doing some light streaks through them. I really like that, and I love that you had the eyes as kind of like Spider-Man's eyes, where they can open and close even though they're not his actual eyes, but these are more fly eyes, and they have that weird sort of waffle pattern through them. I don't know if that's probably not the right term for that pattern going through Fly's eyes, but those are always fun to render because you put a little bit of extra lighting on them and it can make them feel like they're a little bit thicker, and I just meant I could do a cool expression because big eyes and they move around. This was just a really fun one. I like the simple design of it. It's just fun, goofy. Could definitely see it being a sidekick for Spider-Man or someone that tries to fight their way into being Spider-Man's sidekick. And I like that a bunch of the submissions for this Sidekicks and Henchmen episode have been kind of goofy characters, because I don't think sidekicks necessarily have to be goofy, but I love drawing a goofy, fun, happy, plucky kind of character. So these were all super great. This was an awesome submission. Thank you so much for sending it, Penny C137, and I hope you like my version. Here it is. Alright, next up, we've got an awesome villain henchman kind of character sent in by Yokaiju Yusha, and it is Lokol. Loki's troll. Oh, that makes sense. And the description goes like this. The trickster god branded him, making him completely loyal, then sent him out into the 9 realms to wreak havoc. The runes on his shoulder say Loki. I also ended up making the Loki runes on him glow blue. I don't know if you intended that, but sorry about that. I think it's kind of cool looking. But anyway, this one I had a lot of fun with because your original drawing, I love the way you did the shading on him. It's light, but it's really nice. And this is a drawing that I feel like I could see in something like a mythological text, which makes sense because it's, related to Loki, Norse mythology. It's just really great. I love the drawing, and I personally really enjoyed drawing it because I've been really liking lately drawing big hulking characters, especially after doing that digital coloring tutorial from a few weeks ago where I drew Spider-Man fighting Juggernaut, or Scarlet Spider fighting Juggernaut. I've just loved drawing anything that's kind of big and hulking, and it was kind of nice drawing a character that was sort of big and hulking but not that sort of shredded superhero look. Like this guy's got a bit of a rocky gut kind of thing, so it made me draw a slightly different body shape from what I usually do, which is good, getting me out of my usual workflow and just do a slightly different torso. It's always good, and I just had so much fun. I've been drawing my characters a little bit sharper in terms of their anatomy lately, and doing a rocky character just gave me more excuses to do that, and I like just the pose. It's a nice, simple character that I could do one nice big gradient of color across the whole thing, and then I could add that sort of texture to it that I use on a lot of rocky type characters. It's from this manga brush set that I downloaded in Sketchbook Pro that's free, and it's so fun rendering rocky textures. The character you sent was really great, and I really enjoy how it turned out in my style. I hope you do as well. Thank you for the submission, Yokaiju Yusha, and here is my version. Alright, next up we've got an awesome submission from I practiced this. I should have... Nominvenator? Hope I got that right. Anyway, here's the description of the submission, and it is, this is Couric Ulla. She is the second in command of a witch named Dr. Rebecca Cassidy, who is also her wife. They work for an organization that studies aliens and monsters, among other horrors throughout the multiverse. Couric Ulla herself is a shape-shifting Lovecraftian alien, and here she is partially in transformation. And that, I thought the bubbles are the thing that really got me about this one. I like the nice, simple design of the character. I like that she's a little bit older looking, because sidekicks often are young, but they don't have to be necessarily, but really the thing that got me was just this awesome texture you have when she's transforming, and just the idea of anything Lovecraftian always kind of gets to me. And I guess I had so much fun drawing this one. One problem that you might have with it, depending on how picky you get, is I probably make those bubbles a little bit too fun and nice looking. The way you have them, they're a little bit intimidating and kind of creepy, but regardless, I had so much fun rendering those bubbles. It was kind of mesmerizing doing it because I used the circle tool in Sketchbook Pro to do some smooth circles and then did some just freehand, so it's got a bit of a a nice rounded shape at parts, but then a bit of a more lumpy rounded shape, and doing the shadows on a bunch of bubbles like this while trying to make it all one big mass as well was just a fun challenge, and I really like how it turned out. I did a nice big gradient in it, going from a lighter blue to a purple, and then just, yeah, it was, I can't really explain it. It was just such a fun thing to render out. So this one was really a blast to redraw. Thank you so much for the submission, Nominator. It was a lot of fun to draw. I hope you like my version. Here it is. Just jumping in to say, if you're enjoying yourself, please leave a like and subscribe and ring the bell, because I'm going to be releasing not just episodes on Saturdays and Mondays anymore, which is when I always release episodes, but I'm going to be doing more random day episodes because this channel's my job now. I've got more time to work on it. But yeah, ring that bell. Pokemon as Superheroes episode's going to be coming up soon, probably next weekend. But yeah, okay, sorry for the interruption. Let's get back to drawing. Alright, so next up we have got such a fun one from all the noms on the Discord, and here's the description of this one. It's a bit longer. This character's name is Black Sheep / Sidekick. Couldn't decide which name fits better. His biggest dream is to be the sidekick of a hero. He has already been a sidekick to some, but said heroes have all died in accidents that Black Sheep / Sidekick unwillingly caused. One could say that he unalived more heroes mistakenly than most supervillains have intentionally. Due to this, he decided to apply to be Deadpool's sidekick, since Deadpool is a bit harder to unalive than most other heroes. Also, Black Sheep / Sidekick always seems to be lucky enough to not get hit by any deadly shots or survive falls from high buildings. Weight accepted, and in my drawing here, he's falling out of an airplane that he and Deadpool were both on. Powers: eyebrows that are visible above his mask and make him capable of showing facial expressions on the job. Normally doesn't ever get hurt. Other than that, he's very unlucky and mistakenly gets people unalived a lot. Not really any useful powers. And this one I had so much fun with. You can see that I decided to go a little bit more concept-y with the drawing. I didn't just have the character by himself, because it's what I really loved about your drawing, besides the description is what really got me. It was fun and goofy, but I love the drawing because it's a very simple character with a bit more detailed colored rendering. I really like that combination of a cartoony character with more detailed rendering, and I love that you explicitly said the eyebrows can pop off the mask to do expressions. And so for mine, I really wanted to try something where I have the character messing something up. So I thought, okay, let's have a big mushroom cloud explosion in behind him, and he's kind of like, like, I don't know what he did to cause this explosion, but he clearly caused it in some way. And that explosion is the glowy bits of this one. I mentioned in my last episode how I like drawing characters with glowy bits, and we got a lot of submissions with those, and there's more drawings of characters with glowy bits in this episode, but I really like the idea of using that mushroom cloud to inform the lighting for this piece, and I think it works really well. I think I thought it was just such a fun idea to use with this specific character. And I was a bit nervous to draw a mushroom cloud because I'd never actually done it before, but I looked at some reference images and I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. So I hope you like my drawing. I had a blast drawing this one, and let's take a look at my version of All the Noms character. Next up, we've got a submission from King Koala, and it is the robot sidekick of Steven Universe. That's the whole description, and part of the reason that I jumped on this one, besides I just love the design of it, I like that texture background you put behind it, and just the nice, simple shape and idea for it was just really cool. I'd also just recently watched the Steven Universe movie, so I was kind of in that sort of Steven Universe mood and was like, okay, I gotta do this one, and I love that the shape of this one felt very much like if you took Juggernaut and mixed him with Mysterio. Like, he's got the sort of roundish head of Mysterio. Maybe you didn't intend it to be like a totally spherical head, but I kind of made it that way. And then those parts on his arms and head that are a little bit lighter, they look like they might be kind of glassy or see-through-ish. I rendered those not using black ink, but with a lighter pinkish, reddish, purplish kind of ink, and I really like how that turns out. And I was not totally sure if I wanted to go cartoonier or comic bookier with this one, because it's a Steven Universe character, so, you know, animated show, but I was like, okay, it's also got to be my style a bit. So I don't really know where I ended up landing, but I really like how my version turns out. Just rendering the head, just a round kind of light sphere is always kind of fun to render, especially in a cartoonier style, because I can do a little bit of faded lighting, a little bit of cell shaded lighting, add some little glowy reflections on it. And it's, I mean, you know, this isn't specifically a glowy character, but, you know, just those lighter areas can have more reflectiveness to them. And again, because I've been in a hulking character kind of mood, this was a really fun one to draw. I did a pretty simple pose of him just kind of like looking down at someone as if he's ready for a fight. It was just so much fun. I added a few extra details in some places just to detail it up a little bit more, just some like basic lines that I'll usually add into any robot character, a little spots where there might be some nuts or bolts for screwing stuff in. But besides that, I tried to keep it pretty true to your original design. I hope you like my version. Thank you for the submission, King Koala, and here it is. Alright, next up we have got an absolutely awesome submission sent in by Abby Ives, and this one was sent in by email, and the character's name is Sunflare. Sunflare lives in a world where superheroes are a proud and honored tradition. Her father is the most widely recognized and respected hero of them all, and as soon as his daughter is old enough, he begins training her for her future role in the family tradition by letting her join his missions as his sidekick. And then in brackets, I love she's got, I gave her glowy elements because I've noticed those seem to be her favorite. And I do really like glowy elements, as I've talked about in this. I tried to not base my decisions for who to redraw off of, you know, who had glowy bits or not. But there obviously are a few characters in here that have it, like Sunflare here. And this one, I remember when I was scrolling through all the submissions, when I came to this one, I remember audibly gasping, because I loved your original drawings of the character. I love the big eyes, the style is great. I love that you have a few drawings of the character in a jacket and then without the jacket. I've noticed during this episode that I really like when people send in one image a couple drawings of the character, so it gives me a better idea of the character's personality and just some cool pose ideas and just a better idea of what they can do. And this one was so cool. For the pose that I drew, it's a simple-ish one, but I think it's nice and fun. I knew I wanted to have her kind of shooting a fireball, and then I liked also having her hold one in the other hand. I think that's the only part that's a little bit wonky by the end of this, is I render the fingers a little bit weirdly, but I still think it's fun. I like the idea of having a fireball in her hand and some of the fire spewing out between the fingers. That's probably something I've done a few times on the channel, but I can't think of another example now. And then with your drawing, I just love how all the colors of the character are just a bit of a range from yellow to red. Even her skin is a pretty orangey kind of hue, and I think it's just all really nice. I made the black parts a little bit more blue, just have a little bit of complementary color in there, but I keep it pretty black for those black bits as well. But yeah, this one was so fun. It almost reminded me a little bit of a mix between Black Panther, Starfire, and April O'Neil from the Ninja Turtles, probably just because of that yellow jacket, but it's just, and it obviously just feels like its own original thing as well. It was just so much fun to redraw. I loved your original drawings. They were so fantastic. I hope you enjoy my version, and, well, here it is. Next up, we've got a submission from Cariago Arts, and this one was just so cool. It was almost intimidating to take on because you have such nice, clean line work and cel-shaded shadowing, and it's super gorgeous. But anyway, here, I'll give the description. Hi everyone, how's it going? I just made this sidekick for someone from Birds of Prey. I don't know exactly for who, maybe Black Canary. Her name is Karen Fujioka, but use the nickname of Flamenco, like the bird. Her most remarkable ability is her balance, agility, moving without making any noise, and attacking fast. Most people know her by the name of the Pink Shape, because nobody can see her in action. She is a quiet, shy, and loyal young woman who fights alongside her sensei until death. And as I said, your original drawing was just so great, and I really love the weapon that you gave the character, the sort of two knives attached by a rope or a band or whatever it is. I love that idea, and I knew that I wanted to kind of use that as a way to frame the character, so I had it going over her head. It's kind of like what I did with Ding's Wonder Woman in the last Community Redraw episode, and I love that idea of using a sort of long weapon or something in the character to frame themselves. And then I also just liked having the knife kind of flying at us, adding some more whoosh lines to it, and doing some sharp, cool Spider-Man web kind of stuff with just after it's been thrown, the way the rope's moving. That's always a fun thing to experiment with. And then admittedly, another reason that I picked this one was I wanted to try drawing that beak head in a different perspective, because that's something that admittedly I struggle with a bunch. When I draw a character with a snout like a T-Rex and can make it kind of blocky, I have an easier time with it. But when it's something like a beak snout going into a point, that's always harder for me to draw. So I thought it would be a kind of fun challenge, and I admittedly spent more time on that than with a lot of the rest of the drawing. But I think I got it just about right. Maybe that back eye's a little bit wonky, but I'm still pretty happy with this one. And again, love your original drawing. This was so much fun to take on. I hope you enjoy my version, and here it is. Alright, last up, I can't believe we're down to the last redraw already. These have been so much fun, but we've got an awesome one from Gabriel Mendoza, and it's a sidekick for Hellboy. This is Rebel Boy. He's a teenager from hell. With his fist of fire, he fights capitalism while listening to the Sex Pistols. And I like the nice, simple design. I could see this being a sidekick for Hellboy. And because you had the description of he listens to the Sex Pistols, I was thinking rebel, rocker. I decided to take a little bit of creative liberty and give him an axe, but like a guitar axe kind of thing, you know? I hope you don't mind that I added that bit in. I thought it was kind of fun. I pretty much did the pose, pretty much just the same pose that you did. I often try and switch it up a little bit, but I kind of just like this idea of the character looking all ready for a fight and doing the rock on symbol, and I decided to put the fire in between his fingers on the rock on symbol. I could just imagine him doing that symbol and flinging that fireball at someone and then running in and swinging that axe at somebody, or who knows, maybe he's about to start playing it or whatever. Either way, this was a fun one to think about and to draw, and he's got a bit of a glowy bit, but I liked using that lighting to inform the lighting on the character's face. And I guess one thing that I left out is you've got kind of like scorch marks or something on the character's jacket. I don't really have that in there, but the way that I do the jacket, it's like pulled back a little bit more so you can't see it as much, so we can pretend that they're there and that you just can't see them right now. But yeah, I really like the idea for this one. I like doing the hair that's kind of like how I draw my avatar's hair, except, it's like a mohawk-ish kind of thing all the way back instead of just being a swoopy bit at the front. And I love the submission. Thank you for sending it. I hope you enjoy my version. And here it is, the last one of the day. I'm so excited to have this as my background for the next month. There were so many awesome submissions. This was a blast. I love how so many of these turned out. These submission episodes just get better and better every month. And now, as I mentioned at the beginning, I want to go through some of my favorites that I didn't get to redraw, but there are so many cool submissions. I'm sorry I can't even talk about everybody's, but let's go through some of them now. We got one from Goyong, who sent in this submission of Rohan, and first of all, I love the graphic design that you did on the submission images that you sent. It's really cool, and the style of this character is just great. I love the purple flames, and just the cel-shaded rendering on it with a little bit of extra rendering is just... This is such a gorgeous submission. And then from Bunweiser, we've got this just crazy gorgeous, awesome use of blacks in the image. I love how sharp the wings are done. They're just they really pop, and the lighting is all really nice and dramatic. This is just, and just the design itself. I love what's going on with the head and the horns. So cool. And then Jandugu sounds Star Warsy. Is it Star Warsy? Anyway, I really love the character, but I also really love the way you laid out this submission image where you've got a bunch of the different poses. You gave the color palette for the character and some symbols, and then that little extra drawing of him and Captain America, and the design is just, it's really cool. And then Alien Madness sent in this boxer's sidekick, and I just love how sharp and confident it all looks with nice thick black inks, and it's just so stylish and simple, but really well done. And then Manta Ray, I love the expression on Amdog here. It's got kind of like just a goofy look of, it knows exactly what it's doing, and it's a nice simple style, but another that just looks really cool and well done. Then Luke Lengic sent in this awesome Green Goblin gorilla sidekick, and that face is just so... it's so cool looking. I love the licks of flame coming off him, and that little creepy grin burned into his chest. This is so great. And then Bob Dylan, presumably not the singer Bob Dylan, but hey, if so, that's cool. But anyway, I love the watermelon person that you sent in. He said it was kind of like a minion type character, like there's a whole bunch of them. It's just so weird and funny and goofy and cool, like his shirt says. Then Tyler Burby sent in this awesome sidekick for Doctor Strange that I really wanted to get to and I just didn't have time, but I love the way you did the... What's the window called on the Sanctum Sanctorum? Whatever that is, I love how you did that symbol on the chest. And I could definitely see this being a sidekick for Doctor Strange. And then for My Name is Ember, we've got an original character that's actually for a novel that My Name is Ember is working on, named Valerie Hunter. And I just thought this was so cool. The stark red is really great. The kind of creepy eye with the makeup spilling down. I really like how the fire is done, and just... This is the kind of image where I look at and I want to see what the character's looking at and what they're about to do. It's really great. But alright everybody, that's all for this episode. Again, I'm sorry to everyone whose artwork didn't end up in this or redrawn or talked about. There's so much great stuff. But of course, I'm sure you're all wondering what the theme is for the next month. And I'm keeping it a little bit more vague this time. Because next month's Community Redraw will be coming out around Halloween, I wanted to do something along the lines of that, so we're going to do Supernatural. Not the TV show, but I mean, you can do something kind of like from the TV show, but I mean just any kind of supernatural thing. It can be a supernatural superhero or villain or some kind of creature like some kind of weird werewolf monster or whatever supernatural means to you. Design a character or creature or whatever and send that in to either popcrossanimations@gmail.com or join the Discord linked below and send it to the Characters for Pop channel. Make sure when you're joining the Discord to read the rules, and know that if you're sending it in the Discord, I sometimes glance through your comment history if I'm trying to decide to draw your work or not. So make sure you're being friendly in there. But alright everybody, that's all for this episode. Thanks again to everyone who submitted. Make sure to come back next week because I've got a Pokemon as Superheroes episode coming out. I'm currently working on another animation, though I haven't decided exactly when that's going to come out, but it's going to be an animated fight scene. So much more awesome stuff planned, so make sure to like if you enjoyed the video, hit the bell to get notified when new episodes are coming out. And I'm really excited to see what supernatural characters you all send in for the October redraw. Alright everybody, I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.